I'm back. Oh my gosh. The camera quality on this phone is horrible. That's just mine. This used to be my old phone, by the way. My old iPhone 11. Oh my gosh. But I'm back. Yes, I did have a hard time saying the word oh my gosh, I'm still having trouble saying it. Specificity. 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 Okay, I got it. I got it. All right. Yesterday was a short reading. That's on me. All right. 4. An hour after sunset, Lemuel Johnson and Cliff Solms, trailed by 2 additional unmarked cars carrying 8 NSA agents, arrived at Bordeaux Ridge. The unpaved street through the center of the unfinished housing tract was lined with vehicles, mostly black and whites bearing the sheriff's department shield, plus cars and a van from the coroner's office. Lem was dismayed to see that the press had already arrived. Both print journalists and television crews with minicams were kept behind a police line. Half a block from the apparent scene of the murder. By quietly suppressing details of the death of Wesley Dahlberg in Holy Jim Canyon and of the associated murders of the scientists working at Banodyne, and by instituting an aggressive campaign of disinformation, the NSA had managed to keep the press ignorant of the connections among all these events. Lem hoped that the deputies manning these barriers were among Walt Gaines' most trusted men, and that they would meet reporters' questions with stony silence until a convincing cover story could be developed. Sawhorses were lifted out of the way to let the unmarked NSA cars through the police line, then were put into place again. Lem parked at the end of the street, past the crime scene. He left Cliff Solms to brief the other agents, and he headed toward the unfinished house that appeared to be the focus of attention. The patrol cars' radios filled the hot night air with codes and jargon, and with the hiss, pop crackle of static, as if the whole world were being fried on a cosmic griddle. Portable Klieg's stood on tripods, flooding the front of the house with light to facilitate the investigation. Lem felt as if he were on a giant stage set. Moths swooped and fluttered around the Klieg's. What does Klieg's even mean? Klieg's. Nice. What is that? Okay. Can't even access my phone because, yeah, nice, awesome. What does Klieg's mean? There's always another option. If one device is blocked, there's another.
Klieg's. Klieg's. Klieg's.
It's a powerful carbon arc lamp once widely used in filmmaking. It's an arc lamp. Arc lamp. Okay. Awesome. Their amplified shadows darted across the dusty ground, casting his own exaggerated shadow. He crossed the dirt yard to the house. Inside, he found more cleats. Dazzling, bright light bounced off white walls. Looking pale and sweaty in that harsh glare were a couple of young deputies, men from the coroner's office, and the usual intense types from the scientific investigation division. A photographer's strobe flashed once, twice from farther back in the house. The hallway looked crowded, so Lem went around to the back by way of the living room, dining room, and kitchen. Walt Gaines was standing in the breakfast area, in the dimness behind the last of the hooded cliques. But even in those shadows, his anger and grief were visible. He had evidently been at home when he had gotten word about the murder of a deputy, for he was wearing tattered running shoes, wrinkled tan chinos, a brown and red checkered short-sleeved shirt. In spite... Wait, who's Walt Gaines again? Walt Gaines. Oh, that's... Lem, I guess, close friends. Yeah, close friends. What did I even do this? I was gonna say homies. I guess they're homies. Yeah, but that's Lem close friend, Walt. Yeah. Now, I forgot where I was at. Walt Gaines was standing in the breakfast area, in the dimness behind the last of the hooded cliques. But even in those shadows, his anger and grief were visible. He had evidently been at home when he had gotten word about the murder of a deputy, for he was wearing tattered running shoes, wrinkled tan chinos, a brown and red checkered short-sleeved shirt. In spite of his great size, bull neck, muscular arms, and big hands, Walt's clothes and slumped shoulder posture gave him the look of a forlorn little boy. Dang. From the breakfast area, Lem could not see past the lab. Lem could not see past the lab man and into the laundry room where the body still lay. He said, "I'm sorry, Walt. I'm so sorry." Name was Teal Porter. His dad, Red Porter, and I've been friends 25 years. Red just retired from the department last year. How am I going to tell him? Jesus, I've got to do it myself. Us being so close. Came past the buck this time. Let him know that Walt never passed the buck when one of his men was killed in the line of duty. He always personally visited the family, broke the bad news, and sat with them through the initial shock. Almost lost 2 men, Walt said. Other ones badly shaken. How is Teal? Teal. T-E-E-L. Teal. How is Teal? Gutted like Dahlberg. Decapitated. The outsider, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing the words right. That's my main goal. I want to make sure when I'm speaking, you can actually understand me clearly. I want my words to come out how do I say it? To come out what's the opposite of jumbled? To come out straight, to come out with complete confidence, dominance, assertance. I want you to understand everything that I'm saying. I don't want to stutter when I'm talking. No, just talk straight. You assert your confidence. You assert your dominance. Just when you talk, People, listen. That's what I want. The outsider, Lem thought. No doubt about it now. Moths had gotten inside and were bashing against the lens of the Klieg light behind which Lem and Walt stood. His voice thickening with anger. Walt said, having found his head. How do I tell his dad that Teal's head is missing? Lem had no answer. Walt looked hard at him. You can't push me all the way out of it now. Not now that one of my men is dead. Walt, my agency works in purposeful obscurity. Hell, even the number of agents on the payroll is classified information, but your department is subject to full press attention. And in order to know how to proceed in this case, your people would have to be told exactly what they're looking for. That would mean revealing national defense secrets. That would mean revealing national defense secrets to a large group of deputies. Your men all know what's up, Walt countered. Yes, but my men have signed secrecy oaths, undergone extensive security checks, and are trained to keep their mouths shut. My man can keep a secret too. I'm sure they can, Lem said carefully. I'm sure they don't talk outside the shop about ordinary cases. But this isn't ordinary. No. This has to remain in our hands. Walt said, my man can sign secrecy oaths. We'd have to background check anyone in your department. Not just deputies, but file clerks. It take weeks, months. Looking across the kitchen at the open door to the dining room, Walt noticed Cliff Soames and another NSA agent talking with two deputies in the next room. You started taking over the minute you got here, didn't you? Before you even talked to me about it. Yeah, we're making, oh no. Mr. Philip, Nicole, I'm sorry. This ripped. Probably never gonna see this video, but I'm sorry it happened. That's on me. Yeah, we're making sure people understand that they must not talk of anything they've seen here tonight, not even to their own wives. We're citing the appropriate federal laws to every man because we want to be sure they understand the fines and prison terms. Threatening me with jail again? Walt asked, but there was no humor in his voice as there had been when they'd spoken days ago in the garage of St. Joseph's Hospital after seeing Tracy Keeshan. Lem was depressed not only by the deputy's death, but by the wedge that this case was driving between him and Walt. I don't want anyone in jail. That's why I want to be sure they grasp the consequences. Scowling, Walt said, come with me. Lem followed him outside to a patrol car in front of the house that sat in the front seat. Walt behind the steering wheel with the doors closed. Roll up the windows so we'll have total privacy. Lem protested that they suffocate in this heat without ventilation, but even in the dim light, he saw the purity and volatility of Walt's anger, and he realized his position was that of a man standing in gasoline while holding a burning candle. He rolled up his window. Okay, Walt said, we're alone. not NSA district, the not NSA district director and sheriff, just old friends, buddies. So tell me all about it. Walt, damn it, Walt, damn it, I can't. Tell me now, and I'll stay off the case. I won't interfere. You'll stay off the case anyway. You have to. Damned if I do, Walt said angrily. I can walk right down the road to those jackals. The car faced out of Bordeaux Ridge toward the sawhorses where reporters waited, and Walt pointed at them through the dusty windshield. I can tell them that Banodyne Laboratories was working on some defense project that got out of hand. Tell them that someone or something strange escaped from those labs in spite of the security, and now it's loose, killing people. You do that, Lem said. You wouldn't just wind up in jail. So frustrating, bro. So annoying. You lose your job, ruin your whole career. I don't think so. In court, I'd claim I'd had to choose between breaching the national security and betraying the trust of the people who elected me to office in this county. I claim that in a time of crisis like this, I had to put local public safety above the concerns of the defense bureaucrats in Washington. I'm confident just about any jury would vindicate me. I stay out of jail, and in the next election, I'd win by even more votes than I got the last time. Shit, Lem said. Shit, Lem said, because he knew Walt was correct. If you tell me about it now, if you convince me that your people are better able to handle the situation than mine, then I'll step out of your way. But if you won't tell me, I'll blow it wide open. I'd be breaking my oath. I'd be putting my neck in the noose. No one will ever know you told me. Yeah? Well then, Walt, for Christ's sake, why put me in such an awkward position just to satisfy your curiosity? Walt looked stunned. It's not as petty as that, damn you. It's not just curiosity. Then what is it? One of my men is dead. Leaning his head back against the vent, Lem closed his eyes and sighed. Walt had to know why he was required to forswear vengeance for the killing of one of his own men. His sense of duty and honor would not allow him to back off without at least that much. His was not exactly an unreasonable position. Do I go down there, talk to the reporters? Walt asked quietly. Lem opened his eyes, wiped a hand across his damp face. The interior of the car was uncomfortably warm, muggy. He wanted to roll down his window, but now and then men walked past on their way in or out of the house, and he really could not risk anyone overhearing what he was going to tell Walt. You were right to focus on Banodyne. For a few years, they've been doing defense-related research. Biological warfare? Walt asked. Using recombinant DNA to make nasty few viruses? Maybe that too, Lem said. But germ warfare doesn't have anything to do with this case. But I'm only going to tell you about the research that's related to our problems here. The windows were fogging. Walt started the car. There was no air conditioning, and the fog on the windows continued to spread. But even the vague, moist, warm breeze from the vents was welcome. Lem said they were working on several research programs under the heading of the Francis Project, named for Saint Francis of Assisi. Blinking in surprise, Walt said, "They name a warfare-related project after a saint? It's apt," Lamb assured him. Saint Francis could talk to birds and animals, and at Banodyne, Dr. Davis Weatherby was in charge of a project aimed at making human-animal communication possible. Learning the language of por, 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 porpoises, porpoises. Wow, this book. Oh, it's an animal. Porpoises. Purposes. Purposes. Porpoises.
Porpoises.
Porpoises. Porpoises.
Porpoises.
Porpoises. Porpoises. Porpoises. So it's like a type of whale.
Porpoises.
Porpoises. Porpoises. Porpoises. It looks like a whale. It's a dolphin. Okay. That sort of thing? No. The idea was to apply the very latest knowledge in genetic engineering to the creation of animals with a much higher order of intelligence. Animals capable of nearly human-level thought. Animals with whom we might be able to communicate. That's Einstein. All right, that'll be the reading for today. So a quick recap of what I just read. It was Walt and Lem, who both went to check out the murder scene of Teal, who had just been completely destroyed by the unknown monster or unknown beast, and Lem and Walt had just arrived at the murder scene, and Walt and Teal and Walt was destroyed because Teal was one of his guys, one of his deputies, and now Walt wants to be involved more in the case, which he can't. And with Lem being Walt's best friend, they're like this brothers, almost brothers at this point. He has a tough decision to make. So he either break his oath that he made and explain to Walt of the stuff that's going on, or he continues keeping what's going on a secret. So Walt continued pressing Lem until Lem finally gave in, because what Walt was telling him made sense, because because the person that had just gotten killed was one of Walt's guys, and if Walt were to go and report to the news of what was going on, he would still be good and fine. It would still be fine because the jury would still be on his side. So with Lem seeing that the possibilities and the ruling would rule in Walt's favor, he gave in and gave Walt the scoop, the details of what's going on, and yeah, just the overall reason of why the murders are happening. But yeah, that's my recap. That was a good reading. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying thank you, but yeah.